Okay, so here's our first word problem. So it ends up being an inequality because of this word right here, at least. So that means we need to have greater than or equal to 2. So if we're looking here, let's highlight some other key information. So you have 4 kilograms of flour and you use 0.4 per batch. Well, what we don't know is the number of batches. So we'll start and we'll say B represents the number of batches. I'm going to use the story. So we're starting with 4. We're using, which means subtracting, 0.4 per batch. And we must have greater than or equal to 2 left over. So let's go about solving this now. -4 minus 4. Negative 0.4b is greater than or equal to -2. Divide by negative 0.4. Divide by negative 0.4. B, I divided by a negative, so flip the inequality sign. That is 5. So this is saying, what is the maximum number of batches? You can make a max of 5 batches. Now this was an inequality, so we're going to go and graph it. Here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a closed circle at 5. And remember, we have to take into context that we have to stop at 0. We can't have negative batches. So there's our first inequality problem. So here's problem 5. So problem 5, again, in total you had 96. This tells me I equal 96. Now what we're trying to figure out is how many pieces of candy each friend got. So we'll say C, number of pieces of candy. I'm going to use a diagram this time. I didn't last time. So I want all 8 of my friends. I don't think that's a big enough diagram I just made because there's 8 friends. So all 8 friends get the same thing. So I'm going to break this into 8 to represent the 8 friends. They all get 1 piece of cake plus the same amount of candy. So they all get 1 plus C. The total amount is 96 pieces. So you can write this as either 8, 1 plus C equals 96, or 8 plus 8C equals 96. This way I divide by 8 first, and I get 1 plus C equals 12. Subtract 1, and I get C equals 11. If I had this equation, I'd subtract 8 first and get 8C equals 88. Then I would divide by 8 and again get C equals 11. So each friend gets 8 pieces of, whoops, why did I say 8? Gets 11 pieces of candy. Remember, at any point, if you get stuck and you don't know, come into Google Meeting. Make sure you've made the corrections. This is your reminder. Make sure you made those corrections. Otherwise, we're going to problem 6. So there's many different ways you could have answered this. But the major way of describing the similarities and differences is both represent solutions of an inequality. And the solution is nearly identical. It's nearly identical. The only difference is x is greater than or equal to 5 includes 5 as a possible solution. Other than that, they have the exact same solution. So there's your answer to problem 6. Now we'll go on to 7 and 8, which are 2 more word problems. Okay, so we're running a marathon and we've already done 80 minutes. So this is representing our minutes. So we've already done 80. We have 24 kilometers to go with per minute. We don't know the minutes. So we'll say time to run 1 kilometer. This allows us to say 24m. I should say in minutes. Let me be more specific. Now our goal is 3.5 hours, to be less than 3.5 hours. Well, I need to turn those into minutes first. So 3 hours is 180 minutes. Half an hour is 30. So we have 210 total minutes. So my inequality is 24m plus 80 is less than 210 minutes. That's our goal. I'm going to start by subtracting 80, which gives me 24m is less than 130. I then divide by 24, which I need to quickly get my calculator out because I cannot do that in my head. So 130 divided by 24. And I get the minutes must be less than 5.416 repeating. So what speed must you run? Now, as you saw in the question that I asked you to round it to the nearest 10th. So therefore, you must run at least a 5.4 minute kilometer. So that's what you must do at least. Now we still have to graph it. Here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll get right here, about there is 5.4, an open circle. And I go down, and I have another open circle at 0 because I can't run a 0 minute kilometer. It's going to take something. So those are the possible minutes. Last but not least. So I decided to throw a little geometry in there because I want to keep us fresh on that, but I use something that we should be familiar with. Now this is another inequality because we want the maximum size. We don't know for sure, and we're told we have at most 62 meters. So at most means we have to be less than or equal to 62. This ends up representing our perimeter. Well, we see that the width is 14 meters. But what we also know is in a rectangle, let's draw a picture. So there's my width, 14, but there's 2 of them. That's why there's this 2 right there. So we can say 28 plus, well, I don't know what my length is. So we'll use that as our variable and write 2L. Notice that I use this diagram to help me. Whenever we have geometry, a simple diagram could go a long way. So I'm going to now solve it. Less than or equal, that's a 42, that's a 34. Divide by 2, L is less than or equal to 17. So the length of the house is a maximum of 17 meters. Don't forget to graph. Here's 0. I'm going to go by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I'm just going to let the reader know that I'm going by 2s. So therefore, 17 is right there. Close circle. And I keep going. Can I have a length of 0? That doesn't make sense. So an open circle. And these are the 8 questions. Don't forget to upload your corrected formative to Google Classroom. Bye, everyone.